Well, here we are. It is, let's see, today is Wednesday, December 15th, 10 days before Christmas 2022. And in this video, we're going to talk about a sale that took place in France just a couple of days ago. It finished up. And it was an interesting auction of all kinds of objects, including Chinese objects, French objects, Japanese. And it came out of a collection in France. And here it is. You can go. I'll put a link at the bottom so you can go and see the sale results for yourself. It was estimated to bring in around 7 million euros. Ended up bringing in 10 million euros. And great result. But what was interesting about this sale was that the family that collected, and they didn't really say who it was. They don't name the owner particularly. They just called it the VWS collection. And VWS was apparently the descendant of a Russian gentleman who fled Russia during the Tsarist era in 1903, when there was a lot of anti-Semitism in Russia towards Jews. And the man rightfully said, "I'm getting us out of here." And they went to Manchuria and they moved to the city of Harbin. And they started a business there. It was Harbin at that period was a major economic hub in the region. And after a few years, of course, the Japanese invaded Manchuria, so they fled again. The family fled a lot and ended up going deeper into mainland China, and they were successful enough, and they began collecting art. And the grandfather or the father, I'm not sure whether VWS is the grandson or a very elderly son. I'm assuming he's the grandson of the collector, of this original collector, began buying Chinese works of art. And one of the things that's interesting is that when you see these auctions come up, every once in a while there are these estate sales, and people think that, oh, they must put the best Chinese stuff aside, for the Chinese and major Asian works of art sale. And that's not true. They include often, we saw it in the Rockefeller family collection, for example, where they had a general, that was many sales not the Rockefellers, the Getty sale rather recently. And they sold furniture and art and all kinds of things, and Chinese art. And this is a similar situation. In this case, it was a very high-styled, mostly Louis XVI furniture, very beautifully done. And a lot of the furniture was bought sometime in the last 40 years or so. At Sotheby's and Christie, some really, really rare examples. So the grandfather, who started the collection, focused on Chinese things, and then it appears that in more recent history, somebody in the family began designing and furnishing his home with really fine signed French furniture, jewelry, silver, some great furnishings, upholstery, and all that. And as you can see here, the interior of the place that they had, it was absolutely beautiful. They don't say where it is, but there's ocean in the background of some of the pictures. So I think we can assume that it was probably either in southern France on the Mediterranean or in western France, over near Marseille maybe or something. But I suspect it's most likely in southern France, but you don't know. It could be up in Normandy, up in Bayeux or someplace, who knows. But at any rate, they want to keep their privacy apparently, which is fine. But these are some of the pictures of the furnishings in the house. As you can see, they're really great examples. And some of them bought very serious amounts of money, 300,000-400,000 euros for a piece of furniture and so forth. But when Cartier cigarette cases, all these wonderful accoutrements. But when you get down to the rest of the sale, you get into a fairly deep pool of very, very fine Chinese monochromes, great jades, and a very sophisticated snuff bottle collection. And snuff bottle collecting, of course, was a very big thing back prior to the 1930s. In Europe, in America, people began collecting snuff bottles because they were small, they were easy to carry around, and they were interesting, and you could build a very fine collection, and they weren't terribly expensive. All right. but as you mosey down into the sale and you go through all the French furniture and the Paul César drawings and all that good stuff, you get down here and you have the monochromes. And these are some very, very fine examples. And then after this are the Jades. So let's get started. All right. The first thing I want to talk about are one of the Jade boxes. This Qinlong Marken period box, extremely fine, bought prior to 1930. And what's very interesting about this sale, none of these pieces have these Jades, these Chinese objects, have any exhibition histories, have ever been loaned to the Asia Society. They don't apparently have ever been shown publicly. And that kind of thing really drives collectors crazy, especially it's a verifiable old collection. Because there are still collections like this out here in the world. People have things that were bought by great-grandfathers, grandfathers in China, and they just keep them in their houses, and it's for their own enjoyment, which is perfectly fine. That's why we collect. And, it's nice to loan things once in a while, but they apparently never did for whatever reason. Maybe nobody ever even asked them. Who knows? You don't know. But one of the box is this very, very fine Qinlong boxes. And this is exceptionally well done. Beautiful low relief carving, very fine polishing on all the edges of the textiles and so forth. The mark is on the base and this fabulously shaped cover. With these stepped handled and then step sides and then this sort of inverted cavetto running up over it with low relief carving, beautifully done. And they have a nice picture of all the panels on it and a picture of the mark, of course, on the base. And there it is. That's the Qinlong mark. And it was estimated at 50 to 70,000 euros, which was a pretty good estimate. But I think because of the fact that the stuff hadn't been on the market in 100, but just about 100 years, it did very well. It ended up selling for $163,000. Fresh stuff to the market that's been off the market for a long time. We've talked about it many, many times. Always get a lot of attention. It's just the way it is. All right, and then there's this really great yellow jade archaistic ewer, very fine example, beautiful color. Color of this stone was just absolutely superb, and it was of course superbly carved. It had a brown inclusion or a russet inclusion in the stone here, and the carver very carefully and cleverly incorporated a pine tree into it because it makes it stand out. It makes it more interesting. And then you have this phoenix on the side here, very much in the pheasant, depending on how you want to describe it. It done very much in the Qing style. In the Qing manner. You don't see those very often on Ming things and so forth. There it is, but beautifully carved all the way around. And there it is. And the family had their own little collection labels put on everything. And there it is. And it was a Qinlong example. It was not marked, apparently, but it was beautiful. And here you have a Qinlong piece, unmarked, 80 to 120,000 euro estimate, ended up selling for 277,000 euros. Way over the estimate, 2.5 times its high estimate, but superb quality. And then there's this. This was the big jade in the sale. It was not marked, but it was Qinlong, superbly well done, very fine selection of stone. Great white stone, really, really beautiful and fairly complicated. There is one like it in the Metropolitan Museum in New York, and there's one in the collection of the National Palace Museum. And I think those are the two that they refer to, and they provided some very, very fine photographs of it. You'll notice there's a Shao character on the top and so forth, and but they really show the quality of the work. Now, they put a video with this, which was sort of interesting, because the video really shows how nicely this thing was carved. And you can, anyway, I won't go through the whole thing. It's a fairly long video, but you can go and you can look at it and you can see how the light reflects off of it. And it's a good way to learn how to examine jades is by looking how the light reflects off the surface at different angles and how well it's polished. And this hit all the buttons. And it was estimated at 300 to 500,000 euros, went well over that, selling for 844,000 euros, which is close to almost up to $900,000 for that. All right, and then you get over, and there were many other jades, and there were some jades in there that sold for 3,000 or 4,000, 5,000, and there were many in the $20,000 to $50,000 range, and there were others that went over into six figures. But I just wanted to share a few of them, and then you get into the monochrome section, which was extensive. And one of the most well-known examples was this, and they gave it a huge write-up, a lot of information on it that was done in English. Interestingly, Rosemary Scott did a write-up on this, and we've seen these before. It's beautifully done. Let's see here, 6-character mark, chin-lung period. How big is it? It's probably about 6 or so inches in diameter. Where's the dimensions? 8 inches in diameter. Oh, you guys, a lot of reading. It's around 8 inches in diameter. But anyway, it's a form you've seen before. These lotus petal bowls were done in several different colors, but this was one of the most popular. Was this beautiful, almost raspberry or strawberry red color? Absolutely beautiful. And the back of it, of course, with the mark. There it is. And there was a tiny bit of wear around the interior of the plate, but it didn't seem to bother the bidders any. There's the back of it with the mark, and there's a side shot of it, a front shot of it. Now, if you're interested in monochromes, I know a lot of you like them, and they're sort of popular right now. If you want a great book on monochromes, and you'll find this one of these is in this collection, is the Bauer collection in Geneva. And a few years ago, they put out this book. And if you haven't gotten this book yet and you like monochromes, it's a big book. I would urge you to contact the Bauer Institute in Geneva and order this book. It's got about 200 different examples in it, well written, extensively written, lots of references, and it's heavily researched. We'll put it that way. And they have everything in here from whitewares from the Tang Dynasty right through the Qing Dynasty. And it is a great book. I'm just saying it. It's a few bucks. It's $100 or $125 or something. But it's Christmas, so treat yourself. Or if your wife or husband is asking you what you want for Christmas, tell them you want that book. Bauer is B-A-U-E-R, right? Make sure I don't screw that. B-A-U-R. The Foundation, Museum of Art. It's a great institution, and they have an online site. You can order the book right from them, so go do that. It's a treat yourself. Treat yourself. All right. Now, this was a great thing, and then they had this, a pair of Yongshen Marken period yellow, lemon yellow cups, wine cups. Again, superbly well potted. This was one of the things I noticed about their collection on their porcelains. All of the porcelains were rare and beautiful, but the whoever was advising him in China, or maybe it was just his own innate taste, who knows, or a combination, the potting of the pieces seemed to always come first. And then they have to be perfectly decorated, because you're going to see superbly potted pieces, perfectly formed, but better than what you typically see. That's all I can say. They just seem better. And here you have this beautiful pair of wine cups, Yongshen. They're marked on the bases. We'll get over to the bases in a minute. Lots of good photographs. There's the interior, and there's the bases on them. Exactly how they should look. Beautifully done. Family seal on the bottom. And there's that very nice white, very slightly rounded but gently finished foot rim. And then, of course, the mark, which is perfectly executed, as they always are. They were estimated at 60 to 80,000 euros, and the pair of little wine cups, they were 2 3/8 inches tall, ended up selling for 214,000 euros, or around $230,000 or $40,000. They got right up there. And then you got onto these, another pair of Yongshen monochromes. These are the clear de lune bowls. And again, beautiful potting, beautiful shape. And I like the fact that they shot it against a black background, because you really get a sense of the form and shape, and I think it represents the color quite well. And you have this very soft white interior, and they have, I think there's 4 photographs with this, and here's the bases on these. Yongshen, of course, Marken period, rare, and in beautiful condition. That was the other thing. These pieces were all perfect. They're all perfect, and a lot of them were in the photos that we had. I noticed a lot of them were in the dining room, in the hutch in the dining room of their house, which was quite beautiful. It probably still is. I think they're just, maybe they're shifting their collection around. Who knows? It may also be coming out of a trust or something, and they have to do something with it. Who knows? You never know why families sell things. You never really know. But 80 to 20,000, 120,000. The pair sold for 100,000 euros. So they went right in the center of their estimate. And then these were sort of a mystery to me. I'm not sure why they did this. A pair of 3 Jijing Daosai bowls. And I don't know why they didn't sell them separately. It seems a little strange because any one of these could have easily been sold on its own. The 3 of them brought 126,000 euros. So, $40,000 a lot. But you're sort of aiming at somebody that wants to own all of them. I'm not quite sure. I mean, they're all the same. They all apparently are identical, but beautiful quality. And the colors on these were particularly appealing. The enamels they picked because the colors, they were Daosai, but they seem a little stronger than the typical Daosai for some reason to me. They look a little bright, which is great. And you have this beautiful color green that they used on the wheel in the center, and then against this nice overglazed blue enameling, and then this yellow, this egg yolk yellow that you see scattered around, and all the colors were just so complementary to one another. And there's the back of it with the mark. All of them were mark and period apparently. There's the Jijing mark. There's what the foot rim looked like. There's the family sticker and all that business. And they were estimated at 50 to 70,000 euros. Ended up selling for 126,000 euros. And then the Kangxi bowls, aubergine with green enamel ground. And again, you have these beautifully potted bowls. And on these, I noticed that the rims on them were particularly strongly shaped out, very gently. And if you do pottery, you know how hard it is to create that rim. But the shapes of these bowls were absolutely perfect, perfectly potted by hand, perfectly molded by hand, all trimmed out. And then, of course, with this wonderful decoration of the dragons on it. And the pieces look fine from every angle. Here's the bottom of it with the 6-character Kangxi mark on it. This very nice aubergine glaze against this very deep green. This nice sort of, not terribly deep, but a strong green. It's a little bit of brightness to it. And there's the foot on it. It looked absolutely wonderful. The aubergine you could see bled out a little bit. That was common with these wares. Estimated at 15 to 25,000 euros. Ended up selling for 75,000 euros, or 3 times the high estimate. But again, fantastic quality. And as with all the Chinese lots, acquired in China in the 1930s, and some of them were before the 1930s. All right, and then over to this, the yellow glazed Kangxi bowls with underglazed blue decoration, again with dragons. He seemed to like dragons, I guess. He had the Kangxi, the last pair with dragons on him. Now he has this. And what's fabulous, that was great about this collection was that these are all pairs. They had so many pairs, because a lot of collections today, when you see just one bowl coming out of a collection, it's very possible that the bowl was part of a pair originally when they were acquired in the West, or acquired in Europe, or acquired in China, wherever they were bought, because they were often sold in pairs, and especially Qing pieces. And over the years, they get split up. So, somebody in the family, they inherit, they get passed along, and they decide they're going to split them up. You get one bowl, I get one bowl. That kind of approach, which is sad down the road, but I can understand it certainly. One bowl is better than no bowl. And these were beautifully done. These had absolutely great decoration. The yellow was nicely done. There were slight variations in the yellow. If you look, you can see here how it's a little bit darker, and up here it's a little bit lighter, and so forth. And I like that. I like that sort of interplay with colors. Slight variations draws your eye to it. And this beautiful deep cobalt blue that they were doing toward the middle end of the Kangxi period. 126,000 for the pair, of 50,000 euros over the high estimate again. And then there was this thing. I guess it's like a rose sprinkler, perfume, puriform porcelain flambe glaze, and it has this shape that swells out. It's almost Japanese looking, which is sort of interesting. When I first saw it, I thought, is this some sort of 20th century Japanese thing? And I looked at the glaze, and no, it's Chinese. And but a rare form, rare shape, short neck, very wide body, but the quality of the glaze on this thing was just astounding. Just beautifully done all the way around. Beautiful colors, very evenly done. And when you flip the thing over, this was a thing that was quite exceptional. You notice that there is absolutely no spillover of the glaze over the foot anywhere. There's no grinding. Sometimes on these monochromes, you'll see, especially the middle Qing, later Qing examples, you see the glaze creeping over the foot, and the potter has to grind back this glaze when it pools up too much around the foot. But earlier than that, they didn't have that problem too much with the glaze overrunning the feet. And looking at this, I suspect this was probably done during the Jiajing or early Daoguan period, 19th century, but early-ish, because they still had that very good control over the glazes. They don't really say, they just say it's Qing dynasty. That's all they would say. It was estimated at 4,000 to 6,000 euros, ended up selling for 8,100 euros, which I think was a pretty good buy. It was 5 7/8 inches tall, but beautiful quality, and it was again bought in the 1930s in China by the father. It says by the father, right, on the thing down here. Acquired by the father of okay, so it was the father. So VWS must be an older gentleman at this point, obviously, because his father was alive and buying antiques in the 1930s and so forth, and he was old enough to flee Russia with a young family. So maybe VWS is one of the last, maybe had many children, who knows. Again, it's easy to speculate, I guess. And then you get over to this bowl, this lobed form. We've seen these before. Sometimes they're Kangxi period. This one they just dated as 18th century. And it may be because when you look at the glaze up close, it has sort of a fuzzy surface to it. And that may just be something happened during the firing that caused it to react that way. It's hard to say. It looks like a Kangxi bowl to me. With the way the fritting appears and the cobalt and the foot rim on it is very, very white. It's maybe Yongchen period or Kangxi period, but they were hedging. They didn't want to say definitively one way or the other, so they just called it 18th century. And it was estimated at $6,000 to $8,000. Ended up selling for $21,000, which indicates to me that the crowd probably decided it was a Kangxi bowl at that price, because that's not the price that you would expect for an unmarked Jiajing or Daoguan bowl of this type. It's only 7 5/8 inches in diameter, and it brought 21,000 euros. So it's either they either think it's Yongchen or Qianlong. I mean, in Yongchen or Kangxi period. All right, and then over to this, and this brings up one of my favorite gripes, is why don't these screens bring more money? This was an enormous screen. Okay, let's bring it up here. It's 100 inches tall, okay, which is about over 8 feet, 8.5 feet tall. All right, it's a multi-section. It's got like 8 or 10 panels in it. It's beautifully painted. The quality of this is beautiful. It's Kangxi period. It has this fabulous procession with the bannermen coming in from the sides and attendants carrying the umbrella and the Buddhist figures. This is the approach of auspicious and important people coming here. They're being greeted. There's the gate, and they have guards outside. It looks like a palace scene or a provincial governor to me, but wonderfully done. Landscapers roaming around, people playing instruments on the arrival of everybody, and here are some people up here waiting. Ladies in the moon window over here. And some figures up on the terrace, and then you have little kids that live there looking out to see with activity. And here are some attendants or servants feeding the spotted deer that are on the estate. And then you have it all framed by these very classic Chinese rocky outcroppings. And then you have these giant sculptured sort of scholars' rocks in the garden. It's an absolutely great scene. Absolutely great scene. It's got everything in it. And for some reason, though, these great screens, these great Coromandel screens, don't bring anywhere near the prices of other pieces from the period of and you consider the size and the quality. I would think that today, in today's market, these screens should be worth $1 million a piece. I really do. I don't understand why they're not. I whether the Chinese collectors don't like them, I don't know. I really don't know. I can't understand it for the life of me. And I've noticed this now for 20 years. When everything else took off, Chunwa Chicken Cups, $35 million, all that. The high points and the Sung pieces, high points and rare Jades, points in rare bronzes, archaic bronzes, all those things. Furniture, Ming furniture, through the roof. And here you have something that's Kangxi, outstanding quality, and it goes for $113,000. And it's a lot of money. I realize $113,000 is not a small amount of money. But when you consider the size of a thing like this, the amount of work and the quality of the work and the colors and the way it's done and everything that goes into producing one of these, it seems like a relative bargain to me. Seems like a bargain. Of course, it's hard to know what to do if you start collecting screens because they take up a lot of space. But boy, what a beautiful object! And then like I said, it went for $113,000, which is what other screens of similar quality seem to have brought in the last few years as well. All right, and then we get over here to this, the snuff bottles. Absolutely great collection of snuff bottles. There were a number of them that brought over $20,000, $30,000. Here's one that brought $52,000. It was made between 1760 and 1820. And usually when they use this date, 1760 to 1820, this sort of, by implication, it may have been made at the Imperial Palace or decorated at the Imperial Palace in their workshop. And this is a very fine example. And like I said, it was estimated at 20 to 30,000, ended up selling for 52,000 euros. And then they have this egg yolk yellow example made during the Qianlong period, probably at the Imperial workshops, with the Qianlong's poem on it, his signature, and this beautiful egg yolk color. Very good color, great color. And $8,000 to $12,000 estimate, went way over that and went for $27,720. And these aren't the top ones yet. We're getting to them. We're working our way to them. And then there was this very fine Rouge Famille Rose Jiajing Marken period, vase form snuff bottle. Nicely done, very classic. Lime green ground around the sides. A lot of Jiajing Qianlong period, they did lime green grounds on objects and then had open panels where they would put in Famille Rose against a white background, but it would be framed off in Famille Jaune. I mean, in the green rather, not Famille Jaune. There it is, and there it is, the green down the sides. And what's interesting is that the mark is very clear still. Even though it's this base has been sitting on a surface presumably for 100 years, but you want to be careful because they make a lot of copies with this mark on it out there. A lot of snuff bottle copies with Jiajing and Daoguan marks. It's very common. This is obviously not a copy. It was bought in the 1930s or before. $6,000 to $8,000 estimate. $27,000 again. Now you're getting up there. Now this is the agate Qianlong bottle. Beautiful piece of carved agate. Those of you who didn't know agate can bring that much money. But carved, incised decoration, poem from Qianlong. Again, lotus petals at the bottom, rue heads at the top, and this beautiful glass finial. I believe it's a glass finial. Estimated at 20 to 30,000 euros. 52,920 euros. That's about $58,000-$60,000. And then the most expensive pair were these. They went for $78,000 a pair of Qianlong, unmarked, but absolutely great quality. Or were they unmarked? Maybe they were marked. I didn't think they were. Oh no, they are marked. There it is. There are the marks. Okay. Mark and period, 4-character mark, Qianlong snuff bottles, but absolutely perfect pair. And when you pull them in and you look at them, I like the fact with this black background you can really look at one and then the other, and they appear to be literally interchangeable with the other. And to make a pair this precisely with no other decoration, because sometimes when there's decoration on it, it'll cover up slight errors in proportions, slight errors in production, but the carving, distracts your eye a little bit, and you don't notice it. But here you have them. It's a basic shape, vase form shape against a black background. And when you look at them, look at them carefully as you go down, and you realize that they're absolutely identical. from top to bottom. I mean, maybe if you got a macrata out or some scientific device, you could find a variation. But to the eye, there is none. And you notice that the bases are exactly the same. The taper of the walls are exactly the same. They're absolutely perfect. And then you have these beautiful lapis with gilt bronze covers on them. And they were estimated at $15,000 to $25,000. And way over that, 78,000 euros rather, 15 to 25,000 euros. They went for 78,000 euros, which is about $87,000 US. All right, and that was the sale. There were other things in there. There were some other great decorative art pieces. This was something the family later bought in the 1990s or so. A beautiful tankard by Nathaniel Schaubitz, who was a 18th century to early 19th century German silversmith, worked in Danzig, and one of his best pieces actually is in the Detroit Institute of Art. They have a vase that he did. It was spectacular. But he was famous for very fine silver work with gold. And this was how he did it, because silver and gold really go together well. But again, the quality of the work was outstanding. The boy here at the well pouring water and so forth. All right. And there's a lot written about this particular artist. And then you go over here to this incredibly fine miniature. This is a miniature music box. And this ended up selling for $138,000. It has English works in it, but it was created in Geneva by, Raymond Lamy. And but the mechanics for the works came from England. All right, so they would make these boxes, ship them to England. It had an English, I think it has an English retailer stamp on the bottom in several places. But here's the box with the bird. It's like an automaton. It will go around, I guess. And this superb reticulated top. And I'm only showing this to show that there's lots of interesting things in the world. And I love stuff like this because of the quality of the work. This is, painted by a very fine enamel decorator. Here of these boys under a tree, and this comes from an allegory from a poem that was written in the 18th century about children seeking shelter from the storms. And you can see lightning in the background. You see the lightning, and they're under this tree seeking shelter, and they're protecting the lamb and so forth. And they're all sort of smart kids doing the right thing. And then the whole frame is surrounded by pearls and all this beautiful enamel work. Anyway. Somebody loved that as much as somebody else loved all that Chinese stuff, and it was estimated at 60 to 80,000 euros. Ended up selling for 136,000 euros, and that's the way the sale was. And this was bought. They bought this one. This was not something that's been around the family for a long time. They bought this relatively recently in the 1980s in Paris from a dealer. But it's a superb example. And again, no exhibition history other than that they know where it came from. So the family obviously cherished their privacy, judging by the way this catalog was put together. I don't blame them. Why not? You don't want to get hit over the head in the middle of the night at your house. Somebody coming to steal stuff from you. So there we are. All righty. I hope you enjoyed that. I thought it was an interesting sale, and I love to look at other secondary sales or furniture sales or other auctions that these auction houses get, especially Christie's, Bonhams, and Sotheby's. And sometimes you'll find some terrific things tucked into general estate sales that get overlooked because we do spend a lot of time focusing on the specialty sales. And I'm going to try to broaden that out a little because, as I said last week, it's fun talking about other objects too. Because they all play together well. Great things, quality things in your life. You can mix and match. You can put them together, and they can all be very educational. So it just makes things better, as they say. All right. Have a wonderful week. We'll be back tomorrow with the regular weekly video, and we're going to be going away for the holidays. We'll be in and out. We'll have a few announcements about that because I'm going to be out of touch for a few days in New Hampshire with my grandkids and so forth. So that's it. All right. Have a wonderful weekend. Get your Christmas shopping done early. We just put our tree up here the other day. We got to buy another tree in New Hampshire on Saturday and get that up. and all that. We're doing full boat Christmas this year. All right, and those of you who don't celebrate Christmas, celebrate it anyway. Why not? It's for everybody. All right, have a wonderful weekend, and see you all soon. Bye-bye.